Episode number 178 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. So in today's episode, I wanted to talk about body awareness and how body awareness can help your fertility health. And the reason why I say that is because body awareness can actually help all of health. And as I mentioned this over and over again, your fertility health and reproductive health are a reflection of the overall balance and health in your body. So typically what happens is when you have reproductive disharmony, and this is basically what I had when I was younger, in my up until 25 or so, I had reproductive disharmony. And typically what happens is it's actually a reflection of something that your body either needs or something that is getting in the way of what it needs. So in Chinese medicine, we look at two different things or two different ways to heal the body. And I mean, there's many different ways to heal the body, but the two things that we look at is there excess or is there deficiency or is there both? So in excess, it can be looked at as blocks or something that's actually getting in the way of you healing. Something like excess heat. It could be your body having excess inflammation in response to something that it doesn't agree with it, like certain foods that cause it to have more heat or more damp. So in certain circumstances like that, you want to remove that excess in order to allow for your body to get what it needs. Now, usually I say that because when it needs something, it's in deficiency. And typically what happens is it does not stand alone. In reality, there's always excess and deficiency happening at the same time. So typically what our bodies need is that balance, that harmony, so that it can self-regulate. So I mention this a lot. The body knows how to heal itself. And even what we do as Chinese medicine physicians, as well as naturopaths, they see the same thing. The body actually heals itself. It knows how to do it. All it needs is the right environment to do so. So if it has to fight an uphill battle and it's constantly being exposed to toxins or allergens or not getting enough rest, and you're living in a way that is not harmonious for the body and doesn't give the body what it needs, then it weakens the body's ability to self-heal. So ultimately, what we do in Chinese medicine is we create an environment so the body is able to self-heal faster. We do that with moving the energy meridians, and we also do that with food, diet, and also supplements and herbs. So typically that creates more of a holistic environment, or an environment where the body gets what it needs in a holistic way. So it's not just physical, it's also emotional and mental. That's another aspect. We look at the whole and every single part of it. And once you get that, once your body gets that, then you're able to adjust and self-heal to get into this balanced state. The balanced state is basically when the yin and the yang, the hot and the cold, the two opposites of the body come together and are in harmony. In Western culture, we call that homeostasis in science. And homeostasis is basically the body's default. That's what it needs. It's been designed to look for that homeostasis in order to self-heal. So body awareness is ultimately getting in tune with what our bodies are telling us. And typically, one of the most amazing designs that we have and are born with is our body speaks to us. Our body gives us cues. So it doesn't speak to us in English or any other language. It speaks to us in sensations. So when you're aware of those sensations, then you're able to respond to what it needs and realize that something's off. And the reason it does that is because we need to realize that something's off in order to give it what it wants. So a perfect example of that is feeling hangry. When your body's hungry, not only do you feel physical sensations, You feel weak, you feel like your stomach kind of hurts a little bit, but you also feel really emotionally irritable. You'll get irritable because it's sending signals in so many different ways to let us know, like, change this, like, now. And the same thing is when somebody feels hot or cold, the body responds in a certain way to make it uncomfortable for you so that you can bring it back to balance and give it what it needs. But what happens, generally speaking, the examples that I just gave are much more obvious examples. However, there's a range of different cues that we can get from our body that are basically given to us all the time, but many different times we ignore it. So, for example, if you have a deadline to meet for work and you're staying long hours, you're skipping meals, sometimes you forget to go to the bathroom, you don't really take care of yourself, you put that off to the side. Over time, you start to learn to live with the cues and ignore them. And it's not that the cues aren't there anymore, it's just that you learn to ignore those cues. Sometimes if you choose to diet, you don't eat when you're hungry. Your body's telling you it's hungry, but you choose to ignore it. So then it goes into a famine and actually lowers your metabolism because it feels that it needs to conserve. So what happens when we like run out of water, we start to conserve and hoard. So the body starts to hoard onto extra calories, extra fat, because it doesn't, and it releases it slower. So then that causes more fatigue because your body doesn't have the metabolism. It's just the body's way of regulating itself to adapt to whatever is going on in the environment. So ultimately, reading those cues create more balance faster. And when we ignore the cues, that's when we start to create imbalance. So, body awareness is a huge thing because the more you become aware, and I work with many people on this, whether it's in person or online, we speak about that. We speak about becoming aware when it comes to food because your body will let you know something's not right. You feel bloated with certain foods and you feel great with others. Some foods will give you a lot of energy, some foods will knock you out. So those are the cues that your body is giving you. So not only will your body tell you like what it is that you need, it also works really well to let you know if something is aligned with you and if something is right or not right. And the way our intuition really speaks to us a lot of times is through that physical sensation. You'll feel something off, and that's why they call it a gut feeling. And actually, the gut is really connected to your brain. So there is this connection, this psychosomatic feeling, sensation that you can have that guides you through life the more you get in tune with it. And it definitely is a practice. It's not something that happens overnight, but it is something that can be very powerful when you're going to, like, I've spoken to many people that have gone to certain doctors or had to make certain decisions and have had conversations with certain people about their fertility decisions, and they felt stuck. They felt this energy of constriction within their body. And typically, what I will say, if you feel that restriction, I'm not saying it's wrong or it's a bad decision, but pause and wait because there's something that your body's telling you that doesn't feel right. So just wait, let it go, and then revisit it when you're clearer, like after a good night's sleep. And a lot of times, if they do that, something else comes in or they'll find out something about what they were being told or given that turns out to be not the best decision. So sometimes that does happen. Every situation is unique, of course, but it is important to listen to your body, especially when you can. Obviously, there's certain situations that you just have to make a decision, but it's important to listen to your body. And I do believe that it is a tool to help you make that decision. So that's another reason body awareness can help. I also noticed something with my patients. So I obviously see a range of patients. Some of them have had acupuncture before, some of them haven't. But what I do notice is that people with more body awareness that practice things like yoga or feel certain sensations or meditate or are aware how their body feels in one way or another. And typically it's because they exercise or work, do certain exercises such as yoga where they become very aware of their body, or they do breath work or have experienced doing so in the past. Typically, people who have that body awareness will respond faster to the acupuncture sessions, and they'll really feel the energy moving through their body. A lot of times that's what I notice. I'll come in and they say, "Oh wow, I feel the sensations tingling going through my body." And some people have more of like that thick skin, where I use the word thick skin, but it's kind of like a barrier between them and those subtle sensations. And I notice that it takes them a little longer to register that. They have less of a sensitivity to it. And typically, a lot of times, and not always, but a lot of times that will correspond with them taking a little longer to warm up to that sensation where their bodies are allowing that in, that energy to flow. So body awareness, I really do believe, can actually be healing on its own. And I've done meditations myself where I started to get into the subtleties of my body and work out. Literally, I feel like I'm working out my chakras and working out my meridians. And sometimes I'll have like a major pain in my back and I'll just focus on it. I don't try to change it. I just sit with it. I remember having this conversation with Dr. Jill Blakeway, who's very into energy medicine. She wrote the book Energy Medicine, and she had talked about just watching the sensations and not trying to change them, just becoming aware. And when you become aware, just the awareness itself starts to iron things out and self-regulate. So this consciousness, this awareness is intelligent, and it has the same type of intelligence that designed your body. You connect with that intelligence with your awareness. So just by watching it, you bring it into balance. Now, don't take my word for it. Try it out yourself. That's what I always suggest. Just try it out yourself and see how you feel. And it takes me to the next reason why body awareness could be so powerful is because it actually helps you process emotions as well. So if you feel overwhelmed, a lot of times you may not realize it at the time. It feels like just this emotion that you're experiencing in your mind, right? It feels like this emotion that lives in your head, not in your head, like the situations in your head, but meaning that that's how you're processing it through your awareness or your experience of that moment. And if you really think about it and take a second when you're feeling overwhelmed, you'll start to realize that you're actually processing a lot of it in your body. And there's areas in your body that have discomfort. You might start to feel tightening in your stomach, or you might feel it in your chest or your throat or your upper shoulders. Next time you experience any discomfort emotionally, pay attention to your body and allow yourself do the same thing as the physical discomfort. Watch it. Rather than getting into the story of what is upsetting you, see if you could take your attention away from that and into your body right here, right now. And an anchor could be your breath. You can anchor yourself to the breath, but then also focus and follow and scan your body and see where you're feeling any tightness or constriction or any kind of discomfort. It doesn't have to look one way. And see how your breath feels, because so much can be reflected in your breath. And just pay attention and see what happens and what comes up. You'll be amazed at how much you can learn from your body when you do that. And even though a lot of us resist feeling the discomforts of strong emotions, when they do come, they actually serve as an opportunity for you to iron out any blocks in your body. Because like I said, and I've said a lot of times, we are not parts, we are a whole. So when those emotions do come, they can actually impact your body, and they can impact any kind of imbalance that's going on in your body. And if you can actually use those moments as an opportunity, the reason I say opportunity is because when it's active, you're actually able to go deeper. So it's kind of like seeing that eye or that window opening when it's active. And that, if you bring in consciousness and awareness to that moment, that's when you're actually able to connect to heal. So that activity could cause a lot of discomfort. But if you think of the saying, the obstacle is the way, that discomfort can act as a huge opportunity to actually get into your body. And I've seen it also with my patients where they're actively upset, and I treat them with acupuncture, and then it releases a deep cry. And many times people will apologize, and I tell them, no, I'm actually really happy to see that you're releasing your emotions. Not happy to see you cry, but I really want, this is a great opportunity for you to release. And more times than not, they actually have a sense of lightness by the time everything's over. They have this almost like rebirth. And rebirth can happen in many different ways, and it can happen within us. And we can have moments of rebirth and release, so that we're releasing stagnation, really emotional stagnation and also physical stagnation at the same time. Because again, emotional stagnation directly is connected to physical stagnation. So when that comes up, that resistance, it's typically there because there's some kind of block, emotionally or physically, and both, really both. So it's kind of like an emotional stagnation, just like blocks in the body are physical stagnation. So releasing and working through that can actually be a really huge opportunity. And the most opportunity to do that, to actually get in there, is when it's active. I feel the same way with headaches. Like if people have come in the past, I've had people that have migraines, they'll come into my office having a migraine, active migraine. And I'm saying, okay, in a sense, it's great because this is perfect timing. It's actually coming out like the dragon's released. So we want to access that dragon while it's active. And typically, by the end of the treatment, they feel better. So it is important to see that, and actually makes it a little easier to handle, knowing that it's an opportunity, or seeing it that way, to actually tune in with yourself and listen to your body and become more aware of what is going on in the body in response to these emotions. So, an action plan, or something that you can take home with you today, is to start a meditation practice. And it doesn't have to be like an ultimate meditation. I know some people prefer to do a walking meditation or different types of meditation, and some people just don't feel comfortable just sitting. You don't have to sit for a long time if you do sit, if that's the case. Just you could even put like a couple of reminders on your phone to have moments throughout the day where you just sit for a second and focus on your bodily sensations. Like, what am I feeling right now? Let me tune in. And the more you do that, the more you train your mind, really condition your mind to go back to reconnect with your body sensations. And you can do that when you're eating, before you're eating. How do I feel? Before you have cravings, tuning in with your body and saying, what does this feel like? What does this craving feel like? And it's all going to feel unique to each other. It's all going to have a little bit of a different sensation in the body. And you may realize that it's more of an emotional drive. It's not true hunger. It's more like this craving that feels a little different than true hunger. So connecting with that will allow your body to cue you more easily, because you're going to start to understand its language in order to get balance. So this is like a great practice that's free, and it's something that you could just do. So not only is it going to direct you to get it to balance, but it's also going to be very powerful in its own self-healing, because even your focus alone by itself is healing. And that's why meditation has so many health benefits, because it allows you to get into that space of self-healing just through awareness, focused concentration. So I hope you benefit from this episode and it inspires you to bring more awareness into your life. And thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful day. So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.